And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I am going to do a character review today of Admiral Ackbar. Now, I know if you've seen any number of my videos in the past, I have a bit of a love affair with Admiral Ackbar. It's a bit of a bromance. So anyway, I like Admiral Ackbar for a lot of reasons, but I know that there's a lot of people that love these in-depth reviews, and there are others who really wish that they could get a 5-minute video on these characters. So a couple of things. One, I am not going to do a 5-minute video in-depth character review. It's not possible, okay? So I'm going to have the same in-depth character reviews that are 20 to 30 minutes long for those who wish to have them. By the way, they're my highest watched videos, so it's obviously the most important content out there. People want to know about these characters. But what I will do is create a rating system. So I have a rating system. I'm calling it the Galaxy rating system. It's going to be kind of like 5 stars. There's going to be 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. So 5 is going to be a character that you need to have like yesterday. You need to get this character like yesterday. They're a 5-star. 4-star, they're going to be a take a number character. They're going to be a character that you really should have, but you've got to put them on the back burner to the 5-star characters. Then 3 is going to be, well, there's nothing really better to farm, so I might as well farm that character. That's going to be a 3-star, and they're going to fall below the number 4, which would be taking a number from number 5, which is you need to get a character like today. Number 2 is going to be a 2-star rating, Galaxy rating a 2. That means meh, you know, it's a character you probably could live without for the rest of your life, but if you have all the others developed that are 5-star, 4-star, or 3-star, meh, why not, right? And then 1-star is going to be don't bother. These are the characters that are truly a waste of time, money, energy, effort, and if you never develop them, you will probably be for the better. So I'm going to institute this Galaxy rating. It's going to be a 1 through 5 stars, very similar to like a movie rating with 1 through 5 stars, and it'll hopefully give people a better understanding of where each character sits in my eyes. Of course, these are my opinions, and I will put a description of whether they're 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5-star into the description of each of these character reviews. I'll even go back to my previous ones and do this. So if you don't want to have an entire 20-minute video watch, but you want to see what my overall take on a character is, you can get whether they need to be in your 5-star category rating or your 4-star, then you can go ahead and do that. So I hope that helps. The Galaxy rating will give you guys an opportunity at a glance to see cursory where they fall in line. Now, Admiral Ackbar is a light side character. He's a rebel, and he is a support character, but I will tell you he's a leader, and he is one of the best leaders in the game. I will put him in the top 5 best leaders, and if people are going to argue with me on that, he's definitely within the top 8, but I would say he's definitely within the top 5. My opinion, personally, he has so much that he brings to the table with his abilities. I have him currently right at exactly 8,400 power. That is powerful, my friends. That is a very powerful character. It's one of the most powerful characters that I have. If we go back and look at my characters, he's 4th in line, and 2 of them, 5s and Sunfac, are both tanks. So he's definitely very powerful. Now, part of that comes from the mods that you use, and part of that comes from the fact that he's just totally geared up, and I've got him maxed out. So I want to go through where you find him first. He is 7-star level 80 for me, and he's max gear level 10. They have 1 slot that they could future fill to make him gear 11, but we're going to go ahead and show you where he's found. Obviously, you can buy chromium packs. You can also buy him in shipments when he comes from time to time, but he's really known for coming out of the squad arena. Now, the problem with Squad Arena is if you're running Ackbar combo with Leia, you got to farm Leia out of here, you got to farm Admiral Ackbar out of here, and then you got to farm Stormtrooper Han out of here. And so and I'm farming IG-88 right now. But anyway, it's just a conflict. I really wish that they hadn't have put Princess Leia and Admiral Ackbar in together. Really frustrating when you're trying to do a great rebel team, but I'll tell you that it's worth its weight in gold every day to go ahead and farm him out of here. It is a really quick farm. He'll go up pretty quickly because you can get, you know, 10 to 15 of these shards every single day, and so you should be able to get him up pretty quick. Again, he's a great support character, great leader, and he's phenomenal. I'm going to teach you about some of the combinations that Admiral Ackbar gives to the individuals that he runs with. Basics on his stats we're going to go through really quick. He's actually pretty high, above average on strength and agility, and he's exceptionally high on intelligence, over 1100. That is amazing. That affects his physical damage, his special damage, and then of course the resistance. Now I have him modded up okay. I have a couple of mods I wish I could switch out. I don't really need or want health mod sets or defense mod sets, but it's what I have, so it's what I used. But he's currently sitting somewhere in the ballpark of about 35,000, which is strong enough that most of the time when an opponent has a ray, when she hits, she does not kill me on the first hit. So you really got to make sure that your leader sticks around for a couple of turns to do what he needs to do, or to implement what you need him to. As far as speed goes, I did have him in the 180s. I have since brought down his speed. I readjusted his speed because I wanted to time my team in a way that allowed for certain characters to go at certain times, and so because of that I had to slow him down, and so I took some speed mods off to drop his speed down. However, the faster your characters are, the better. Traditionally, if you can get all of them across the board faster, you still want to make sure you're timing them right, so that way they're going off in the mode in which you want them to go. You want the character to go first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. You need to know who they are and what they're going to do, and then put their speeds accordingly. I've got his critical damage up pretty high. I've got it to 186. I have boosted it by 36, and that's because he crits a lot. He's also he hits really hard on his base damage hit, his basic, and so every time he hits, and he does get called out of turn. I'll explain why and how that happens. So when he gets called out of turn, of course, I want him to do as much damage as possible, and so I decided I wanted to go with critical damage instead of critical chance. His potency is not very high, but it doesn't need to be, and his tenacity is over 50. Now, he boosts everybody on his team when he's the leader, another 10 tenacity, and so he's actually over 60% tenacity, which is great because most people in the game do not have their character's potency over 60%, and there's also a 15-point negation, so they would have to have their potency to about 77%, and then we would be even with his tenacity at 51 plus his boosts, because of what the game automatically has a 15% chance. So what I'm trying to say is his tenacity, anything over 50 for him is great. It's sufficient enough to keep him in the game and not worry about it. The one downside for him is he doesn't have any health steal. That is a bit of a downer, as most characters have some form of health steal, even just 5%. Now, his physical damage is exceptionally high for this type of a support character. It is over 2,500. Now, I did boost that by 300, but he still had it at 2,200 base. So that's really, really, really good. His physical critical chance is at almost 30%, but of course, Leia gives him another 25%, pretty much 100% of the time. And so it's over, over 50% critical chance, so he's critting a lot. His armor penetration is not bad at 47. His armor rating is at almost 30%, which is not bad again for a support character. That is decent. And then his special damage is excellent at 3,500, boosted a little bit, and then of course the resistance is over 20%. So those are his base stats. This is where you farm him. We're going to go ahead and go over mods. Now again, I would do set bonuses. And for Admiral Ackbar, you could do health set bonuses. You could do, critical damage set bonus or critical chance set bonus. Really, for him, what you want to do is you want to keep him in the game as long as possible, and so you're going to want to get up his health and protection as high as possible, but you also want to speed him up so that way he can do off his tactical genius, so that way other people can take a double turn. We'll talk about that when we get to that ability. So these are the mods that I had. So for the set bonuses, I went ahead and went with defense and then 2 health set bonuses. So I get a total of plus 10 health, and then of course I get plus 5% defense. Defense is probably my least favorite of all of these bonuses. So honestly, in offense is number 2 worst, in my opinion, defense and offense. Just the way that they apply those bonuses, I do not like. So I would recommend, if you're going to do this, going with the biggest bang for your buck, which is critical damage, or health, or doing... let's see, critical chance, critical damage, or health. Those are the 3 that I would really recommend for him, so that way he's tearing stuff up. If people, when they play against him, tend to know that he's giving special attention to your action damage characters, your AoE characters, your, the characters that are applying a lot of damage down, let's say your Landos or your Reys or your Leias. And so they have 2 choices. They can either take out Admiral Ackbar to try and get his leadership abilities gone, so then they can focus on your damage characters, or they're going to ignore him to go to your damage characters. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, they're going to ignore Admiral Ackbar because they know they can get him. They hyper focus on those characters that do high damage. So because of that, you really want to make sure he's doing as much damage as possible, because they will probably voluntarily leave him in the fight for a few rounds while they try and take out bigger threats. And so that's where the critical damage and the critical chance would come into play if you wanted to do that. Now, the way I have him modded, of course, the top left transmitter is always going to be a primary stat of offense. So I have that in there. It had a little bit of protection, nothing good really for secondaries. The processor on the middle left is always going to be defense. Of course, I had that. It did have a +9 speed as a secondary, and that was a great little boost to get him right where I needed him speed-wise on my team. On the bottom left, the data bus, it was a 23.5% protection, or the 5.88 health. I went ahead and went with the protection. He is one of the squishier characters on my team, one of the softer characters that can die pretty easily, so I definitely wanted to boost up his protection. And this also had a 2% critical chance increase. The arrow, of course, was another defense mod I had, so I went ahead and used it. It was a 4-dot, so it's only 26 speed, not 30 speed, but it did put him at the speed that I needed him to be at, and I went ahead and went with speed instead of accuracy or critical avoidance, although I would say that critical avoidance is a decent primary stat to put in here, but speed for him and for my team was more important to get him at the speed that I needed him to be at. The other thing is it's a 4.4 critical chance as a secondary. That is an excellent secondary stat. As you remember, this other one had, let's see down here, had only a 2% critical chance secondary. This one has a 4.4% critical chance secondary, so you can see how amazing that secondary stat really truly is. Now the holo array, the triangle in the middle right, did have some speed additional, but it had its 36% critical damage. This again makes him punch as hard as humanly possible for him. You want to make sure he's hitting like a Mack truck as best as possible, because they're going to leave him in the fight while they're trying to take out your damage characters and or trying to deal with your tanks when your tanks are taunting and whatnot, and that's throwing, you know, wrenches in their game. So definitely want them to be pounding them as hard as possible with damage. So, and then the bottom right one, the multiplexer, the primary stat I put on here is tenacity. Tenacity is excellent for him. He's going to boost your entire team's tenacity. You'll read about that in the ability section, but I definitely know that he's going to be targeted by lots of negative status effects, to include Emperor Palpatine and the stun, as well as other things. And the thing that you don't want to have happen for him is really to get stunned, because you need him to stay in the game to use his abilities. His toolkit's amazing, his abilities are amazing, but he's got to be in the fight to use them. So I did do the tenacity, and it did have a little bit of protection as secondary. So this is how I have him modded. Again, I told you how I have him modded and how I would recommend him be modded. And again, if you're in a perfect world, you could change those mod set bonuses out for something else. So now that you got to see where to farm him, how you would do the mods, where his gearing is at, how his power is, and his base stats, I want to go through his abilities really quick. His first one's called Quick Shot. Now, I do want to eventually Omega all of his abilities, because he's been with me from day one. I've used him since literally the very first week. He was the very first leader that I committed to. It was him or Captain Phasma. By the way, Captain Phasma is phenomenal, but it was either him or Captain Phasma, and I just liked the fact that you could trigger Leia so much with Admiral Ackbar that it was much more consistent and much more DPS, or damage per second, with him and Leia combo than having Captain Phasma as the lead and potentially calling in 20% of the time assists from other people. It's just, you don't know who you're going to get. You might have your assist come from a tank, whereas with Admiral Ackbar and Leia, you know it's always going to be Leia that goes out of turn, and I'll explain that more in a minute. But his basic attack, it deals physical damage, and a lot of it at that, to the target enemy with a 55% chance to gain 30% turn meter, and you can boost this up to a 70% chance to gain turn meter. Now, the only thing about the turn meter gain that's troublesome, that's the only wrench in the game on him, would be the fact that he boosts up his own turn meter quite often, and if you've got all your characters, all your tunes, put to the speed that you want them to be at, it messes with it because you want him to go at a certain time, and then all of a sudden he's gaining extra turn meter and he throws off your turns. That does on occasion happen. So while the turn meter is great and you can have him go off a lot, it is a little bit frustrating because he can really throw off if you're really putting your mods down to a science and trying to get your team to go in a certain order. This can definitely frustrate that. But it is a heavy hit, and quick shot, obviously getting 30% turn meter 70% of the time is awesome. Just the more he goes, the more he's going to use his abilities. It's a Trap is a special. It has a cooldown of 4. It means he can do that once every 4 turns. And he can also Omega this to give another 15% turn meter gain. Again, he has a lot of this turn meter manipulation for himself. So this is where he dispels all negative status effects from all allies. That's anything red over your head, he takes it away. Now, for each ally, every single one that's dispelled, every single debuff above their head that's dispelled, they'll each gain 9% of their max health. So if they have 2 or 3 debuffs above them, they're going to be gaining 18 to 20% of their max health. That is like a heal from one of the healers. That's a really good heal. It also says that Admiral Ackbar will have a eventually 40% chance to gain another 25% turn meter. So his basic and his first special ability both give him the ability to gain more turn meter, and he already starts out at a decent speed. So this is just really speeding him up and getting him the opportunity to do these abilities. Now, his tactical genius is really what he's known for. I do have it maxed out. I Omega'd it this morning. His tactical genius has a cooldown of 3, which is nice. You can use this every 3 turns. He'll basically, there's a lot of words and verbiage, but essentially he is going to put this tactical genius on top of everybody. It's a little triangle. Then the first person who uses it, uses any ability other than their basic, will get to use their turn all over again. And so they can do anything but a basic attack. They can do any special. As long as it's not the basic attack, they get a whole second turn. So you could have Rey go and do a double hit and then a triple hit. You could have Leia go, do stealth to protect herself, and then do a double or triple hit. You could have him do it and then go Lando, his AoE, and then his AoE back to back. I mean, there are so many really cool combinations with Tactical Genius where he can do this and then give any one of your characters an opportunity to go twice. What I like about Leia is you can use it to have her stealth first to protect herself, and then she can go off and do 2 or 3 hits against the competitor that you're going with, which is really nice. Or you can do Rey. I really love Rey because you can target a character, do a triple hit, and then do a double hit. Or you can do a double hit and then the triple hit. A lot of times I do it double hit, triple hit, and the reason is I'm going for a tank. I want to take the tank out, so I do a double hit, which takes out the tank's protection, and then she gets to go again, so I do the triple hit to finish them off. A lot of times their health is greater than their protection or vice versa. I'll just pay attention to who I'm targeting to see which one looks greater, whether the protection or health is. But this is amazing with Rey, and I don't know a lot of people that do that. The other one is I know that really is amazing is Lando, being able to do his AoE, the double down, when he goes the first time. His AoE is a special ability. If he gets 2 or more crits, all of a sudden he gets to have 100% turn meter from the Tactical Genius, and then he'll get to use his double down again because his ability is if he gets 2 or more crits, he gets to reuse that ability with no cooldown, or the cooldown's reset, so to speak. So this one's really cool. Now, the other thing that's very cool is whoever uses this ability ends up gaining 30% of their max health. So that's a big deal because a lot of times he does this and then someone pummels my Rey and she takes a lot of damage and she's damaged. So then I do her double or triple and she gains 30% life. So it puts her back into the game if she's been hurt. So this gaining life, he does this in multiple ways. He does it with the Tactical Genius gaining life when they go, and he does it with the It's a Trap by clearing it out. So what's really cool about Ackbar is if you're going against teams that do debuffs, if you're going against, you know, the B2s, or if you're going against the Darth Vaders, which are becoming more and more popular now that people are starting to 5, 6, and 7 star their Darth Vaders. Darth Vader makes me really excited. I get really giddy like a schoolgirl when I see Darth Vader against me, because as Admiral Ackbar is the lead, because he's going to just drop 2 or 3 negative status effects instantly. Or Emperor Palpatine loves to put negative status effects over people, and I know all I see when I see red over my head is gaining life. That's all I see. And then when when Darth Vader throws his lightsaber, it's too late. They're cleared and he does almost no damage with that attack. Whereas if they have a bunch of negative status effects, it'll do 40% more damage on that attack with Darth Vader for every single negative status effect. So this Admiral Ackbar is awesome. He's also great in the raids when you're using him to clear the first phase. I used to solo the first phase without any turn meter reduction by simply using my Admiral Ackbar to clear, and I would take some damage, but I'd taken a healer and the healer would counteract what damage I had. So I highly recommend Admiral Ackbar for lots of areas of the game, for sure. The last ability is called Rebel Coordination. Rebel allies have 25 speed and plus 10% tenacity. This is phenomenal. 25 speed is one of the best, if not the best, speed bumps in the game, and it applies to all of your Rebel allies. So again, Leia is on my team. She is going to get plus 25 speed. Of course, he gets 25 speed as well. You've got to factor that in when you're trying to figure out who's going to go first in the game, and when you're timing out your mods to see who gets what speed bumps from your mod sets. So the speed is cool, but also plus 10% tenacity. Something that's very cool about that is he's giving Leia or whoever you're using with him, Stormtrooper Han, whoever, the extra tenacity and the extra speed. With Stormtrooper Han, it works phenomenally well. I know a lot of people love to use him, and of course they want to make him as fast as possible. This is a massive drop of speed that goes directly onto his stats just because Admiral Ackbar is the leader. So the Rebel Coordination. The other thing about Rebel Coordination that it really makes him amazing is whenever an ally, that's anyone that's on your team, uses any ability that isn't an attack, what they're talking about is the basic, okay? Whenever they use anything that's other than a basic, they call a Rebel ally to assist. Now, this is where it's important to pay attention to who's on your team. If you really want Leia to just go all the time, put a bunch of characters that that have a huge toolkit of special abilities. If you've got someone on your team that has 4 or 5 abilities, for example Yoda, who's got 5 abilities, you can have someone like that on the team, and he's only going to do that basic attack probably once every 4 to 5 turns, which means every time he gets a turn and uses one of those other non-basic attacks, he's going to trigger this ability and cause Leia to go out of turn and to shoot. And she shoots 2 to 3 times, most times, and she's going to do, depending upon the target she's hitting, anywhere from 5 to 12,000 per shot, and she gives almost always critical chance up on your team. So every time she goes, she's adding critical chance up, which means everybody on your team is going to have a 25% greater likelihood of critting when they hit, which is super important. And you want Leia, if you're using her, to go as much as possible. And really, Ackbar and Leia combined, if you do it right, with a bunch of support characters that are doing a bunch of special abilities, really make her go so much. I've seen my Leia shoot 9 times in a row because I was using special abilities with my team, and they just kept triggering her to go, and of course she just keeps shooting, sometimes 2 times, sometimes 3 times. So pretty amazing, this combination. I really want to test drive Admiral Ackbar, show you where he's at. If you are going to want to know how he sits on the galaxy rating of 1 through 5, where 5 is the character you've got to get like yesterday, I would put him at a 4.5 out of 5 or a 5, depending upon your strategy. If you are going to use him as a leader, he definitely is a 5-star galaxy rating. If he is not the leader of choice, he's not the guy you're going with, I would still put him at a 4-star rating. He needs to take a number and sit down, because you're going to develop him as soon as you get all of your 5-star galaxy rated characters developed. So I would give him if he's your leader, a 5-star galaxy rating, meaning this is one of the first characters you need to develop and farm. And if he's not your leader, I would make him a 4-star rating. So those are his abilities and attacks. That's his power mods and information. Let's go ahead and test drive him. So I am going to go into the squad arena, and I am going to use him against, how about we do Emperor Palpatine? So I can do either Bam Starwalker or Simon Phoenix. How about we do, and here's they're almost using identical teams. Let's just go with the first one that's available. This is the team that I'm currently using in the arena. I am using Rey still. Now I know that my arena looks a lot different than many other arenas, because this arena is about 3 months old, and so we're still using a lot of characters that are not a part of the current meta of the AoE characters, such as the Biggs, Wedge, Landos. Although you did see that Lando's starting to make a bit of a comeback, or a bit of a surge on my server. A lot of people are starting to use him, and it's thinking forever. So it used to be just a bunch of evasion teams that I had on here. Now I've got a bunch of evasion teams still, but I have a bunch of the Emperor. Of course, a lot of people like the Emperor. You can see tons of Emperor. There's a Admiral Ackbar, and then there's some other characters, actually quite a few Admiral Ackbars, which is really fun to see. But the Emperor is really popular right now, just because of the amount of stuns that he gets when you get his potency up. But we're going to take him for a test drive in the arena, and I'm going to go ahead and attack just this Simon, the number 2. I'm going to take my time. Normally I auto battle, and it takes about 45 seconds to defeat. I want to kind of talk through this. By the way, a lot of people know, not everyone does. If you're number 1 in your arena, somebody has to physically beat you for you to be bumped out of number 1. I know that sounds simplistic, but what I mean is I could literally lose this game and it will throw me back in the number 1 spot. Even though I just lost, I could still be put in the number 1 spot. So there's 3 targets on here that are of a big priority. Emperor Palpatine, because he stuns. Of course, we've got Rey over here. She does a lot of DPS. And then we've got Lando Calrissian, who's going to be doing all of his crits. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take Emperor Palpatine out. So we're going to do Leia. She shot first. And I'm going to see if I can do a triple hit and take out his Emperor Palpatine. And that was a weak hit for sure. And he got 3 crits. Now I'm going to use Mow Down to take away their positive status effects, which takes away the buff that their tank had. Now I'm going to do Tactical Genius, and she went out of turn. That was not her turn, but because he went, she got to go. And when she stealths, he gets to shoot. It's very cool. Let's go ahead and take him out. Now we can focus on Lando. I could stealth and Admiral Ackbar would shoot, but instead I want to get a double or triple hit. There's a single hit. We'll do a double hit here. And she gets to go again and a single hit. So she went with her double hit and then immediately got to go after for her single hit, and that was the ability to take her out, or to take Lando out before he got to go his second turn. We don't have any negative status effects, so we're going to go ahead and hit. And that was a 6,400 hit. That is not bad at all. I also have Sunfac in here. Watch Rey over her head. Of course, she's got that plus 50% offense. That's something she gives herself. I don't like that. Let's take it away. And in perfect timing. Let's go ahead and mow down the whole team. I'm just going to go ahead and shoot her and finish her off. Now we'll move to Qui-Gon Jinn. I was hoping to see some more debuffs, although I have another test drive after this that I think will showcase his debuff ability. There's a double hit. She'll shoot out a turn. Double hit. And there we go. So I played it slowly and let you look at it. Admiral Ackbar, pretty fun. I want to definitely show you against Darth Vader, because Darth Vader, like I said, he's up and coming. A lot of people are using him underneath Emperor Palpatine's lead, and so I want to show you on light side battles at the very end. I think right here is a Darth Vader battle. So let's go ahead and do Darth Vader, and I want to showcase his ability. We really don't need any of these characters. That's so funny. Some really low characters. And I don't need or want anyone that's super big. How about we just do a healer? And I don't really want or need any of these characters, but let's just shove a couple in there. Actually could have just done it without them. So 3 rounds. I hope Darth Vader gives us a run for our money. She shoots twice and gave them all the physical critical chance up. This is what I'm telling you about. She just always does this. Now I'm going to go ahead and do Tactical Genius. She'll get to shoot again because he did that special ability. Now on this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the AoE. And now he gets to go again. And we'll do Lando's. The only danger when you have one or two targets is if you use Lando's AoE, he's not going to get his 2 crits. You've got to have it. You really want to have at least 3 or 4 or 5 targets on the other side for the statistical odds to be in your favor. And that was a great hit. That was 8,500. Not bad. I know a lot of people complain about Leia and how she's inconsistent. She is a bit inconsistent when it comes to her hitting, because she's inconsistent because of who she's going against. You know, if she's going against a high armor rated character, she's not going to do as much as she used to. But if she's going against some of the normal characters whose armor rates were not affected, she still hits for 9,000 to 12,000. I see it every day. All right, Darth Vader, let's give him a chance to put a bunch of debuffs on our head. Yeah, lots of targets. And unfortunately, I wish there was a team with Darth Vader. So he goes ahead and puts all these negative debuffs. I'm just going to do a basic. She shoots 3 times for about 10,000. Even with it not critting, that's still a lot of damage. Now we've got this Tactical Genius. Not only is it going to take all the red over our heads, we're all going to gain life. The only person that actually needs life is the Barisafi over in the top. If you notice, she has lost all her protection and she's got a little bit of damage. So when I clear this, if you'll notice, she'll gain all that life back. And we'll do Tactical Genius. She gets to shoot out a turn, and actually that was Lando, because he's a rebel as well. And we'll finish him off with Leia. So there you have it. There's Admiral Ackbar. You got to see how he clears off the debuffs, how they gain life through it, how he can give people additional turns, how when he is leader, if you have rebels or a rebel, they get to go out of turn every single time somebody uses an ability other than a basic attack. They get to attack. He makes an amazing leader. Again, if he's a leader, I tell you he's a 5-star galaxy rating. If he's not your leader, he's a 4-star. You'll definitely want to farm him as soon as you have your must-haves. So As always, if you've got any questions, you can leave them in comments down below. What do you like most about Admiral Ackbar? Leave what you like most about Admiral Ackbar in the comments down below. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.